and welcome to the Jessica Knits podcast. My name is Jessica McDonald. I am a knitting pattern designer and I'm coming to you from a tiny town in the mountains of Idaho where I live with my family and all of our many, many animals. Today, kind of the topic or title of my podcast is Dirty Lying Gauge Swatches. What happens when your gauge swatch lies? Because I just went through it. First of all, let me share with you what I am wearing. This cardigan that I have on is called Larch. It is a pattern that was published in my book Forest. My book Forest came out last fall. This pattern is now out as an individual pattern, so you can buy it either in my book Forest or as an individual pattern on Ravelry and my website. It is a top-down raglan shawl collar cardigan. There's the shawl collar, and it's worked in broken rib stitch, which is this lovely textured stitch. It's very, very easy to work. You only have to knit and purl to make this texture. The pattern is written with a focus on making it very simple and easy, so everything is written out for you and you just follow it line by line. So it's a very easy pattern to knit if you're looking for a basic shawl collar cardigan with a little bit extra, a little bit of texture to it. Mine is knit in Durham Natura Juliet in the color caramel. I wear it like this a lot, so you can't see in the video, but I've got jeans on, so I'll just wear it with a t-shirt and jeans and then throw this cardigan over top, and it's just kind of my main style, I guess. T-shirt and jeans and a random hand knit thrown on top, but I really like this one with t-shirts and jeans because it's kind of got a laid back but still not messy and sloppy look to it. So enough about what I'm wearing, let's talk about my sweater. So I started this sweater back at the beginning of the summer. I think in May. I think I started this sweater in May. And here you see it in all of its finished glory. It took me a very long time to knit this sweater. I did my usual process. I gauge swatched. I took my numbers for my gauge swatch. I designed it, I graded it, I wrote it, I knit it. It took me a really long time to knit this sweater. It was taking forever and ever and ever and ever. And my husband even commented on it. He's like, how come you're not done with that sweater yet? It's taking you a really long time to knit that sweater. I was like, no, I don't know. Maybe I'm just not finding enough time to knit, and it's totally fine and normal. It's okay. It'll get done eventually. I did try it on. I knit below the underarm and I tried it on and it seemed a little big, but I was like, you know what? You're never wrong on your math. Just trust your math. Just trust your math and keep knitting. So I finished the whole sweater and I blocked it. And when it was dry, I put it on and I realized that this sweater is 10 inches too big for me. It's 2 sizes too big. When I put it on, it looks a bit like I'm wearing a tent because it is so stinking big for me. And I was like, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no. And so I measured the gauge off of the finished sweater, and the gauge on my finished sweater was 4 stitches per 4 inches, so 1 stitch per inch, different than the gauge on my gauge swatch. So even though I was only off by 1 stitch per inch, I ended up with a sweater almost a foot larger than I wanted it to be. It was very disappointing when I put it on because it is way too big. It does not look good on me at all. And I thought, you know what? It's way too big for me. Maybe Jim can wear it and he can be the model for this sweater. So I had Jim try it on. And it looks a lot better on Jim. The only problem is that it's got some negative ease in it when Jim wears it. Not much negative ease, only like an inch or 2 of negative ease. So it fits him like a second skin. Negative ease is when the sweater is smaller than your body. So it fits him like a second skin, which isn't his preferred fit. But he was like, I can model it anyway if you'd like. But I was like, that doesn't quite look right. That's not how this sweater is supposed to be worn. I don't want to take a picture of a design that's being worn with negative ease and then tell knitters to knit it with positive ease, because that just doesn't work out. So it doesn't fit me, and it doesn't fit my husband. So I needed to entirely reknit it. I corrected the gauge. I was so frustrated with it. I corrected the gauge in my spreadsheet, and then after fixing the gauge, fixed the gauge in my spreadsheet. And then after fixing the gauge in the spreadsheet and going down and looking at my finished chest circumference measurement that it spat out at the end, I've got it all in formulas. So I can just change the gauge number and all of the math will just fix itself for me. I don't have to go in and do things manually since it's in a spreadsheet. So I changed the gauge in my spreadsheet and I went down to look at what the sizes were, and all of my sizes had shifted up considerably, and I needed to write 3 smaller sizes for this sweater because all of a sudden my smallest size was something like 42-inch bust circumference when previously it had been 32 inches. So I had to add new sizes in. I had to go through and check all of the numbers for the sizes that were already graded based off of the bad gauge. And then I had to go into the pattern and I had to fix the whole pattern and change the numbers, change the sizes, change the gauge. And it was a big chore and it was really frustrating. And I was so mad at this sweater for a while. I just like, tossed it on the table in here and walked away. I couldn't even look at it because I couldn't believe that I was so far off with my gauge swatch that I had completely messed up on all of the sizing of my sweaters. Like, it was really, really, really frustrating. So my sweater just sat on the table for a couple weeks, and then one day I came in here and I was like, oh, that's so pretty. So I came around in the end, but the whole process of finding out that my gauge swatch was wrong was really, really frustrating, and it made me quite mad. I don't know why my gauge was so far off. I really have no idea why. The only thing I can think of is that I knit my gauge swatch while I was in a stressed out state and perhaps held the yarn really, like, had a death grip on the yarn and the needles as I knit. That's the only thing I can think of because there was no other reason I could think of for my gauge swatch being wrong. I used the right size needles. At least I'm pretty sure I used the right size needles. And I did my usual enormous swatch, which usually makes you have more accurate gauge numbers. So I really am not sure why my gauge was so far off. I can't like solve this problem, like look back at it and say like, oh yeah, that's where you went wrong. You did this wrong. All I don't know, maybe it was just super stressed out and holding my yarn too tight. I have no idea what I did wrong. It's just a very, very frustrating experience for me to go through. So actually, now that I've said it, I am kind of wondering if perhaps I did use the wrong needle size when I did my gauge swatch. Maybe I like grabbed a size 6 needle instead of a size 7, which I'm usually quite careful about grabbing the right size needle. I use the Chiagu needles and they have the size printed on the needle tip, and I also keep them in their original packaging, which is labeled with the size, and I keep them all in the same place with a needle, like one of those little things you can use to measure the size, and I keep them there with that thing so I can quickly, stick it through and check to see what size it is. So I think I do all the right things to make sure I don't get the wrong needle size when I'm working, but maybe I did. Because it was way off. And it makes sense that, like the amount that I was off, it makes sense that I would have grabbed a needle size too small and accidentally knit my swatch on a smaller needle size. I could have done that. I'm thinking this through on camera. I could have done that. That might be the most likely explanation for it. Because generally, my gauge swatches are accurate and the gauge in my swatch matches the gauge in the finished sweater. So that's probably the most likely explanation. So maybe I'll be a little more careful about picking my needle sizes out in the future. Maybe not, we'll see. I hope I've learned my lesson. So this sweater is way too big. So I cast on for another one. Oh, let me show you real quick. So to be able to tell really quickly and easily what's the front and the back of the sweater, it's really easy in colorwork sweaters because you've got all the little yarn ends that are different colors. I'll just grab a different color piece of yarn and put it through the ribbing. You can see I just put it through and looped it through a couple times and then cut it off real short. This is non-superwash. I don't knit with superwash. So when you do it with a non-superwash yarn, you can just kind of loop it through a couple times and then cut it with little ends sticking out. You see the little, and it doesn't unravel itself. It kind of hangs on, the yarn hangs on to itself, and your little loop-de-loop stays there. And then it's really quick and easy to tell which is the front and which is the back. Let me tell you about this design. I'm not sure if I told you about this design before I entirely ditched my channel back at the end of spring, but let me tell you about it now. I'm pretty sure I'm going to name this sweater Borealis, as in the Aurora Borealis, but Aurora, it just sounds very Disney princessy to me, and that's not the vibe I'm going for, so I'm fairly certain I'm gonna name this one Borealis, but I'm not 100% certain, so it may have a different name next time you see it. I'm pretty sure I'm going to call it Borealis. It's knit in Berrocco yarns Lanas, which is a worsted weight wool yarn. I have 5 colors in it total. There are 4 contrast colors in this yoke, but I have used all of these Shetland knitting motifs so that you're only ever working with 2 colors at any given time, but you have the lovely multicolored yoke and all the different colors through it, like you would with, like, it gives you a lot of colors, and the color work is a lot more lively when you use a lot of colors, but you only ever knit with 2 colors at once, so it's a lot easier and more enjoyable to knit. So you start at the top. I have a nice squishy folded collar, which if you keep an eye on my channel, you may recognize this. This is the tutorial on the top-down seamless folded collar that I uploaded like 2 or 3 days ago. So if you want to see a good way to make a top-down folded collar, it's entirely seamless, you don't have to sew it down, you can check out that tutorial that I uploaded a couple days ago. We start with a squishy folded collar, I have this lovely colorful yoke, and then the rest is just plain stockinette. The inspiration for this sweater was kind of a combination of a ski sweater, like, you look at all the old pictures of people skiing and they've got some colorwork sweater on and it looks fantastic. And also all the Scandinavian ladies who go hiking and camping and outdoor adventuring, and they've got on a colorwork yoke sweater and their hiking pants, and they look so cool. I just think they look so cool in their colorwork sweater and hiking pants, and they're out in the Scandinavian mountains and doing adventurous things. So the inspiration for this sweater was kind of a combination of those 2 things, a ski sweater / Norwegian adventure sweater. And so I wanted to bring those together into this sweater. So the nice big folded collar is nice and cozy and warm and keeps the chill at bay. And then you have the nice big colorwork, and you come down to this big star at the bottom. It's big and bold, and I just think it has that ski sweater / Norwegian adventure sweater vibe to it. So that was the inspiration for this sweater. Here it is in my basket. I'm keeping it in a basket because I've got 5 balls of yarn, and like it doesn't fit in a normal knitting bag when you have that many colors going. And it's also really easy to just kind of shuffle them around and pull them out. I have 4 colors attached right now, so I do have to be a little bit careful when I'm taking it in and out so I don't make it into too big of a mess. Where's the beginning of the round? There it is. So I'm this far on the second version of this. I have like the full skeins of contrast color. I had enough left over that I could easily knit another yoke. I had one ball of the main color left, so after I finish that, which is almost gone, I'm going to start cannibalizing the sweater that doesn't fit anyone. I'm just gonna unpick where I've woven in the ends, probably on the body, and I'm just gonna rip it out and use that yarn. I think that I might just like rip out of this sweater and knit it into this sweater at the same time. Technically, like to do it properly, you would need to unravel it, reskein it, steam it or wash it to get the kinks out, and then rewind it and then knit from it. And I just feel kind of lazy right now. Don't really want to do all of that. So I might just unravel from this sweater and knit it into this sweater at the same time, and maybe that will come back to bite me in the behind, and maybe it will work out okay. I don't know. But I'm really busy re-knitting a sweater. I don't want to spend a bunch of time messing around with yarn. I have 4 colors attached because I'm working through a section where you go, so you see I've got, don't focus on my head, I've got the dark blue here, and then I'm coming into the white, and this color is called Currant. I'm working through 3 rounds where it's currant and white together, and then we're coming back into the main color and the dark blue together again. So to keep myself from having to weave in too many ends, I'm just leaving the blue and the main color attached because it's only 3 rows that it's going to shift up, and then I'm just going to pick it back up again when I come around to when I finish the section that's the purple and white together. I'm just going to pick up the blue and the beige and keep knitting, and that way I don't have to weave in ends. It will eliminate 4 ends that I have to weave in. I really love color work, and I really love knitting with a lot of colors, but when you're done and you turn it inside out and you have to weave in all those ends, kind of stinks. I don't really enjoy that part. I do it because it's necessary, but I would like to minimize that stage of the process so that I don't have to weave in a ton of ends. So that's why I've got 4 colors attached, even though I'm only knitting with 2. So my colors are, they do have a color name, but they also, the ball band only has the color number printed on it, which I don't really like because it's really hard to remember. Like, they're 5-digit numbers. It's really hard to remember like a 5-digit number for your certain color that you're using, but it's a lot easier to remember a name. So I'll share with you the colors by name, I think. Okay, so my main color is Steel Cut Oats. It is a nice beige color. That's my main color that I'm using, which is unsurprising to anyone because I do like light colored neutrals as my main color. And then I've also got this one, this dark blue, which I believe is called Coast. I think this one is called Coast. And this light blue, which I think this one is called Lake. The names might be swapped. This one might be Lake and this one might be Coast, but I'm pretty sure this one is Coast and this one is Lake. So I will include all of the color information in the pattern when I publish it. I wanted to do some blue on blue tonal color work because I think that looks really cool when you have like the same color but in different tones, different levels of saturation, if you will. So I really wanted to do tonal blue on blue. I haven't knit with blue in a really long time. I thought, oh, I'm going to use blue this time. It's a nice color. So I'd have tonal blue on blue. These are kind of the foundation of my color work, the 2 blues. And then for the poison, the wow color, the pow color, I've got this one which is called Currant. I got also just a plain red, like a flag red. It's just like red. And I put it together with the blues and also the cream. It's not super creamy. It's like a warm toned white. It doesn't have a lot of yellow in it. It's a little bit creamier in real life than it's showing up on the screen. So I had the two blues, the cream, and the red together, and it looked very flag-y, which I'm not trying to hate on any countries here, but that wasn't really the vibe I was going for. It's like a lot of countries have that color combination of blue, red, and white together in their flag, and I was like, this, I don't want the flag vibe in this sweater. So I switched to Currant, which is kind of in the same idea of red, but it's got a lot more purple in it, so you don't get the flag vibe out of the color work when you use Currant instead. So it's this rich reddish purple color, which is showing up pretty well on the screen, although I think it's got a little more red and a little less purple in real life compared to the color on the screen. And then to go with the Currant, I needed another, I guess it's more of a like poison color combination. I'm calling it poison. I have a Shetland knitting motifs book, and it calls like the color that you put, like the bright pow color that jumps out at you, they call that the poison apparently, which was new information to me, but it's the color that jumps out and is bright and is high contrast with the rest of the color work, and it really just makes the whole motif just sing. It's just, so this is the poison. I needed two colors together to do the rounds with the poison. I didn't want to do the Currant in a round with the blues because I think they're too close in color value. I wanted something that contrasted really strongly with it so that the whole poison rows would have high contrast in the whole row, or round as it were. So those are my contrast colors. And my main color, we'll put them all in together, but there's not much main color, so you can't really see it. So there we are, all my colors for this sweater. Now I'm going to dump them all back in. This is how they all look together. Actually, I'll show you the blocked version. This is how they all look together in a sweater, which I really like. I think it looks really pretty. I am not a super girly person, and I didn't want to have the Currant color make this super twee. I still like, I don't like pink. I just don't like pink. I never have. So I didn't want to bring too much pink into it because I knew I wouldn't like it if it had too much pink. So that's why we went, the Currant isn't too pinky for my taste. So this is how they all look together. I'm really in a phase of loving giant stars in color work. It's kind of my current phase. You can see how big this star is at the very bottom of the yoke. This star, the bottom section, like this section between my two hands, that's a 22 stitch repeat. It was a giant star motif, which brought some challenges in with grading. Because at 22 stitches at a worsted weight gauge is about 4 inches. So each size is 4 inches apart at the bottom of the yoke. So it brought in some challenges with grading and making the sizes work out how I wanted them to. But another consideration, since it is a 22 stitch repeat, is it's really, really hard to memorize a repeat that long. The repeats at the top are a lot smaller, and there's 2 repeats per repeat. So in the chart you have one of these big stars at the bottom, and then as you go up, the chart includes 2 of these smaller motifs in each repeat of the chart. So you only have to remember half of the chart for these rounds, and it's really easy to memorize these ones. I found it to be really easy to memorize these ones. I just spend a few seconds looking at the chart and then I've got that round memorized. But when you come down here to the 22 stitch repeat at the bottom, I could not memorize it for the life of me. And the very first round, I knit all the way around, and I'm back at the beginning of the round, and I got to the end, and I didn't end at the end of the chart. I was in the wrong place. I was a few stitches off, so I had to go back all the way back through my yoke. I'm gonna go see what happened. Hang on a minute. I'm back. So on my very first round of the very bottom section of the color work, I messed up and I had to tink all the way back to the beginning of the yoke, literally back to the very beginning of the yoke. I messed up like 10 stitches in, and then I fixed it all and I moved forward. And on the second round of this 22 stitch repeat color work, I messed up again. I didn't have to tink back quite as far at that point, but it was still really annoying. So after I tinked back again, I went and grabbed my stitch markers, and I have placed a stitch marker between every single repeat of color work. You can see how wide the repeats are. Here's 2 stitch markers. I've placed a stitch marker between every single repeat so that now when I mess up, I don't have to go back to the very beginning and tink way back. I'm just somewhere in a single repeat and I just have to go back a few stitches at most, and then I can keep going. So hooray for stitch markers. They're a little bit jingly because I bought this set of stitch markers that has little decorative things on it, and also because my little jar of just those reusable, not the reusable, the ones like this, these ones. My little jar of these ones, can't see very well, grew legs and wandered off, as is prone to happen with my things sometimes. So, oops, I'm dropping stitches. So I have all these really cute stitch markers. These are no longer available. The lady who sold them has stopped selling them, but they're really cute. It was just like a mixed tin of random stitch markers. There's even a strawberry. So my knitting is now a little bit jingly and decorative, but I can keep track of where I am in the repeat and keep going. Dropping stitches again. So there I am. I'm almost at the bottom of the yoke. I'm about halfway through this. I'm like one round short of being halfway through the last motif. So I'd like to finish that today and split for the sleeves today before I go to bed tonight, and then it will be smooth sailing on the body, because at this 22 stitch repeat spot it is a little bit difficult to knit on whilst I'm doing school with my kids, or you know, other random just pick it up and knit. You can't just pick up and knit and a few stitches and then move on, which is how a lot of my knitting gets done. So I'm eager to get this down past the sleeve separation so that it can be to the point where I can just pick it up, knit a few stitches, and put it down when I need to. So pretty sure it's going to be called Borealis, but I might change the name. It's currently in test knitting and the pattern will be out in October. So if you do like this design and you would like to knit it, sign up for my email newsletter. I'm dropping stitches again. Sign up for my email newsletter. There's a link in the description box below this video, so sign up for my email newsletter so you don't miss when this sweater comes out sometime in October. I don't know when exactly. I want to show you something really fun that I bought myself. The same lady who made these stitch markers, but she no longer sells stitch markers, she came out with this National Parks Passport book. So you might have heard of AD Knits. She recently rebranded to Camp Stitchwood. She threw in a really cute Camp Stitchwood sticker. In my order, will it focus? It doesn't, it likes me. There we go, Camp Stitchwood. She's now Camp Stitchwood. But she makes a bunch of stickers, like knitting themed stickers. I ordered this one to go on my water bottle because it's a little tent, it's camping, and these mountains are stockinette stitch and the moon is a ball of yarn. So I got this to put on my water bottle because I love camping and I love knitting, but I also love national parks. I've gone to several of them, and I've got the National Park passport book that you can stamp. I've got that one. But she came out with this little passport book, and she makes stickers for each national park. So you can buy her sticker for the national park, and then you can put it in, and it has a little spot where you can, oh, here's the official, like you put your sticker in, and there's a spot for the official cancellation. So you go and stamp this book as well as your passport book. And you can write down when you visited and what your project was. So you have a little record of the national parks you visited and what you knitted in that national park while you were there. And I was just so charmed by this whole idea. I was like, this is so fun. Because I want to visit all of the national parks. And for our family vacations, we like to visit national parks, although we didn't go on a family vacation this year because we spent all of our money on sheep. But next year, we'll go to another national park. So I thought this was so much fun. I can add this to my already existing national park passport book. And then I'll have 2 keepsakes from the time in my life when I was going to national parks with my kids. Because this is really fun to go to national parks with my kids and all of these fantastic memories we make while we're there. And like, this is just a really precious time in my life, and it's really fun. And I want to embrace it like fully. Maybe I'm getting a little too sappy here, but anyway. So now I have the National Parks passport book, and so when we go visit national parks in the future as a family, I'm gonna buy the sticker from Camp Stitchwood and fill in my whole passport book, which will be super fun, super duper fun. We went to Yellowstone last year, which Yellowstone isn't too far from us. We can be to Old Faithful in like 3.5 hours of driving. So it's not very far from where we live now. We went there last year. I do want to go again. I really want to go again. That was like my favorite trip of all of the trips I have ever taken in my entire life, was going to Yellowstone last September. And I asked my 10-year-old, she really likes national parks too, and my mother-in-law has a national parks game because my mother-in-law also really likes national parks. And so I asked, my 10-year-old likes to play the mother-in-law's national parks game. She really loves to play it. Even just by herself, she'll play with it. So I asked my 10-year-old what national park we should go to next. And she said we should go to Olympic National Park. So I think that will be our next national park to visit, will be Olympic, which is like 12 hours away from us. It's quite a long ways away from us, but we'll just road trip. This is super fun. Yeah, it's Camp Stitchwood. If you want to go, get one for yourself. So that is all I'm going to share with you today. If you are enjoying my knitting podcasts, please subscribe to my channel so that you can see more of them. And last podcast episode, I mentioned that I'm putting together my How to Knit a Sweater class/tutorial. It's going to be uploaded here on YouTube, hopefully in the next couple of weeks. I'm almost done filming it. I just need to film the finishing and blocking portions of it, but we kind of got stalled because my youngest had a fever the last couple days, but he's better now. So we got kind of stalled, and I need to come back and finish filming that and then edit it and put it all together and upload it. So subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on that, and so you don't miss out on any of my future podcast videos. And I will see you next time. Happy knitting. Bye.